for another Proaim review. Today, we got the 16-foot heavy-duty tracks. We're gonna open it up, see how it works. This just came in today. It's heavy as hell. It's supposed to be 16 feet of heavy-duty track. I don't know how you're gonna carry this giant case on and off of sets, but here it is. It comes all wrapped up. Let's get this opened up and find out what we have. It's kind of a pain because you don't want to cut your track. This one has some damage over here on the bottom, but it's gonna be sitting on the ground anyway. So this comes all wrapped up, which is nice, but it comes with this carrying case, and if you're gonna throw it in the case and transport it, it's gonna be banging around and gets pretty smashed up. So what we're going to do is probably keep it assembled. So it comes in 4-foot sections that are foldable. This is really heavy duty. This looks like Schedule 80 aluminum pipe. So this is the piece that goes on the end. The way these work is you expand these out. So these go into the rails and expand out. And hopefully we get smooth transitions between each section. Of course, with Proaim, you can always expect to have some problems, but they don't give you any instructions. It says to go online and download the user manual. Since Mr. Dogfoot doesn't have a computer because he's too damn old, we don't have any way to get the instructions. Thanks, Proaim. Let me get this all opened up and then we'll assemble it. So here's all our pieces unpacked. They come in 4-foot sections and they fold up for storage. And I want to say these are 5'8" in length if you fold them up. We're going to keep them in sections, so we'll fold it out and probably just keep them in 8-foot sections. So they go together that way, and then there's one end piece. These go together. That goes together. So you have to have probably all of it put together. And you tighten in as if you're tightening, and that tightens that track. So I was worried about this. And you see this movement, so this would change the distance between the tracks. It should be standard at 24.5 inches. It does have this end piece, but even this piece slides, so I'm not sure. Was one of my concerns was, is it going to maintain 24.5 inches? Because these two lines can go like this, and now it's different sizes. So how do we maintain it? That is definitely something I'm concerned about. These are little stoppers. They screw in to the end pieces, and then when you put your skates or dolly on here, it's not supposed to, that can stop it. So those are nice. I mean, they're shitty little balls with screws in them. Definitely not hard to set up, but if you're an old guy, it's not great to be crawling around on your hands and knees. I'm not excited about this so far. I'm sure it'll work fine, but I do not like the fact that it is not straight. And since the floor isn't level, to give it a little help, you can see our floor isn't perfect. I won't blame that on Proaim. There are some things down here, but it's single, so it's not going to tighten it. Okay, so the price was $750, including shipping. Not bad in comparison to like Matthew's track, which is going to be that much for 8 feet. So you get twice as much over here for the same price. It's not heavy, that's for sure. We can use these stoppers at the ends. So as typical with Proaim, the bolt in the bottom is not lined up with the top, and these are not going to thread in. Oh, that one did. Loosen it up a little bit. It's just, they're just not lined up properly. There's no way to twist it because it's bolted in the bottom and in the top. I can put it in there, but if I thread it, it's going to be cross-threaded. Typical Proaim quality. Even though this is, it looks correct, as I said, without some kind of a locking thing to set the distance, this is, I mean, that's nice if you wanted to have narrower tracks, but how do you keep that from shifting with 1,000 pounds on it? So right now, these tracks are only 15 inches on center. And if we push them open, when do we get exactly at a 90-degree angle so we're 24.5? That looks like 24.5 there, but any little deviation could be a problem. Let's put some skates on it and see how they go. So these are the Proaim skate dollies. We reviewed these previously. Still have that problem to deal with. But as far as these, this is even smoother than the track we have. That's pretty nice. Let's go get the dolly and drop it on those. Okay, so there's our tracks. It does stop on the little stoppers. It certainly moves. So as the wheels transition over these, that is not smooth. That is not smooth at all. And again, I mean, it could be attributed to having the right distance, having it just a quarter of an inch off because they're not perfectly square could create more friction on these. I'm going to say they rolled better on the pre-made track, but those tracks also fold up. So here's a piece of Matthew's track, and these also fold up that way. It has this clamp. It goes into the other track, and they attach together. So you have a machine distance, so it's pulling it, you know it's going to be at 24.5 inches. And it won't, once everything's locked down, this track is not going to go back and forth like this. This track has, the Proaim track has nothing locking it. These just are not smooth. They're not hitting these where they're bolted together. Yeah, it doesn't feel good. Sorry, Proaim, I don't know. I mean, we'll do some shots on it. We'll try it out, but I'm not impressed. It's nice to have the track out of aluminum. It moves. It's certainly okay outside. It's going to be better than having a dolly on a sidewalk. I don't see myself investing more money in tracks. We'll try it. We'll try it out, but I wouldn't recommend anybody going out and buying the stuff until they test it and try it out someplace else, because it definitely is not smooth transitions. And even Matthews advertises, this is stainless track, and they have heavy steel chrome plated track, and just the chrome plating creates a lip and a bump. This, I probably could put a straight edge across there and check it with a feeler gauge. So here's a machined piece of steel that is perfectly flat. And when I put it on here, we'll take a feeler gauge. The smallest, lowest I have is 4 thousandths. Let's see if we push it on this. So if I hold it on this side, it goes up a little bit here. So honestly, it's not that bad as far as Here, I'm not even getting 0.004 of deviation in the track sizes, but this gap here is definitely bumping. Well, let's try pushing it together better. No, you can't. So there's an open gap. Here's the problem, right? This is an open gap. There's no way to push it tighter because we have areas where it's touching, and then we have areas where there's a big gap. So that is not a machined end. So here's this 12 thousandths will fit in this gap. That's 12 thousandths of an inch. But over here, it won't. This is completely tight. So without some way to draw it together or having machined ends, there's really not a lot we can do. We can move it back and forth, but if I move this side out, this side moves back, and you still don't solve the problem. This spot right here is there's like a bump. You can see it's not flat. This piece, it's not smashed. It may be smashed. Yeah, it is smashed a little bit over here, but it sticks up. And that's the problem. You can't, we've got gaps in here. We've got imperfections. It definitely wasn't smashed in shipping because it was well protected. You're just never two pieces together like that without being machined. And then they've got this heavy black powder coating that is also adding size to it. So if you can run a credit card across it and you can feel it, that's a problem. There's definitely a difference in size, and there's definitely, yeah, it's not clean. You feel it, it's not a clean transition, and you can hear trying to go across it. And it's all of them. It's not just one, it's not one. This one's even worse. That's not going to be good, unless you had some giant wheels like these on the rails that could compensate for that. So if you look at this wire over here, as we push it over the bump, you can see the wire shake. Yeah, you can see. So we're going to go over the bump right here. And you can see it shake multiple times as it hits different wheels. So one wheel hits, and it just starts shaking. So it's not just, oh, it's a little bump. And if this is shaking, this probably isn't, and you have stabilization built into the camera, and it might be usable, but oh my God, is that annoying. And then you're gonna get that every 4 feet. So if you're doing a dolly shot, and the faster you go, the worse it gets. So if you're doing a dolly shot where you're going in, you're like shaking. And by the time you get to the end, this thing's shaking like crazy, right? Because it's just compounding it. And we're only going over basically two transitions because we're taking up more than 4 feet of track. So this reminds me of the glide gear tracks, which use these fittings and bolts to go together. They're smaller and they're tighter. Actually not too bad. They're actually better than these, but it's just not the way to put track together. And these hold together with bolts that hold them in, so there's no way to control the gap between them other than the bolt. So these are just, they don't work very well. I imagine they could be used for a Dana dolly, but you're gonna get bumps in the transitions, and that's what you're getting over here. This is just a bad design. Don't spend $700 to get tolerable. Get good stuff. I feel like this dolly on the floor is more stable. So as I push this next to the tracks, our floor is really rough, and you can see this cable shaking a little bit. So it's not perfect. If you go slow, Should be fine. I'm probably getting the same amount of shake out of a rough floor as I am the tracks. So I accomplished nothing by putting this up on the tracks. I don't feel the things in the floor, but you can see our floor is not level. You can see a wheel coming off here and there where it's not on the ground. I built this dolly for a couple $100, and it's better than $700 skates and $700 in track. So we accomplished nothing at all by putting it on tracks. It's actually smoother on the floor. I know those skates are super smooth because we put them on our other tracks and we've used them a couple times. This track it's not going to make it. It needs to just needs to go in the garbage or aluminum recycling. It's not going to be part of our studio equipment. We're not going to admit to anyone that we bought it. We're probably not going to put this video up because it's so embarrassing that we have this bad track. Certainly it's going to be better if you're on a sidewalk and you're going over bumps, or if you're in a driveway. It's usable, but it's not worth investing money in. You're not going to, for the amount of time that you're going to have to move it, set it up, it's very heavy. You got 16 feet, you start getting into 32 feet, 48 feet. You're not going to be happy with it. We haven't tested the professional track that they supposedly have that's compatible with regular track. In no way am I saying don't buy Proaim products. Just don't buy this product. They have a couple different track options, but until you know they're good, don't buy them. I've seen people saying this is great track, but it's not. So don't buy it, save yourself some money. It's going to be a little more expensive to buy better track, but this just isn't going to do the job. You're not going to be happy with it. It'd be fine for like industrial track to push stuff down a conveyor belt. That's about it. Junk. Today, we got the 16-foot heavy-duty dolly tracks. Why are you shaking your head no?
I didn't shake my head no.
And then I go over and look at you like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, why did you look at me?
Because you were fucking shaking your head like you're telling me no.
I want to say something.
Fucking idiot. Come on.